Hello, everybody. Sunny morning, isn't it? It's about to be spring. Body awareness. This morning, I asked somebody. I sent a message and I asked them, before I'd like to continue with you, I'd like to ask you two questions. One, how educated are you on the topic of neurodiversity? And two, would you listen to the advice and intuition of your own feminine oracle within, even if it meant disagreeing with or quote unquote disobeying a man that you think God sent to protect you? And my reason for asking that is I notice this person relies a lot on external forms of validation to validate whether she's safe or not and stuff. However, at the expense of her own intuition, and I see a woman do this. But then, guys, we have this too because we all have the feminine oracle in us, and that's a part of us that can sense what's going on. It's our sensitivity to the world around us, to what's happening, and it speaks through our bodies and through our feelings, and it's just kind of like our true warning signal. And so, I guess the benefit of having other people to sense things in danger for us is that, well, if we're not aware, then they can help us. However, we're limited to their scope and their frame. No one's intuition will truly know what's best for you other than you. And at best, they may be littered with their own personal kinds of leadership structures, their own personal motives, their own personal insecurities or fears or projections against the things that they're considering a threat. And I may have some level actually misleading. Like, for example, I'm going to think of like how many women out there have completely abandoned what their body's telling them and abandoned their own intuition because some guy told them to do something or not, and then you regretted it later. Or dudes, how many of you have like completely abandoned that gut feeling you had because this woman said, "Oh yeah, you need to do this," or some other dude says, "You need to do this," but even though you didn't feel right, but you want to, follow and obey because you trust them more than you trust you. That's the first mistake that we all as humans make, is by abandoning our own intuition, the same kind of warning signal, for someone else's warning signal, who is also a human being and has it within them as well. And so, who should be the one in power to decide who is safe and who's not? And in reality, we all have that inside of us. And so this brings me to, basically, if we're not aware of our own body signals, or we encounter fear, we start feeling fear and anxiety, and then someone tells us to do something and then it goes away. It can either mean that they put us in safety, but it could also mean, which is actually 90% of the time more of the case, that we've suppressed what our body was trying to tell us because maybe on some level you don't want to face it. You don't want to face what your body's telling you about where things are off and wrong, or where you're misguided. And then you wonder why certain cycles, like dangerous repetitive patterns, keep showing up. Why you keep attracting the same kind of type of guy? Why you keep attracting the same type of woman? Why you keep ending the same kind of situation with people? And we have to let go and listen to our bodies and move through that process of discovering what is buried in there, where it's telling us it's feeling all this anxiety because you're moving in the life direction or suppressing a part of yourself that's causing it's this universal innate intelligence running through our cells and our instinctive nature that it's not just dumb instinct intelligence, it's literally suppressed wisdom and genius over billions of years of evolution since cyanobacteria. Now, so for example, I would classify as being autistic, and somewhat, you can call me ADHD. Some people would say he has other things, but that's just shamanism and spiritual awareness and other things that make up my perception and the way I live this world. I'm very neurodivergent in many ways, and I've lived that. And part of my problem was having suppressed autism and being autistic my whole life. Suppressed how that part of my mind and body worked to try and fit into what others thought was normal. Basically put me through up to 25 years of completely ignoring my body's signals for everything, to when to stop working, for when to eat, when to sleep, whether this person's safe or that person's not safe, whether that person's for me or not, whether that person actually loves me or they don't, whether you can see how that led to a lot of situations, like especially when traveling. It just I had a few wake-up calls, had a couple near-death experiences with a couple of very hateful people. One had they both had lethal weapons. One of them said he hated all autistic people. And it was just kind of wake-up call, because I'm just like, I'm not going in the right direction. You listen to all this programming and all these signals telling me that this is the way to safety and this is the way to belong and be part of this tribe, yet the very parts of me that will tell me what is for me and for my own safety and well-being and tribe have been wronged and have been suppressed, and I've suppressed them. And perhaps many women can agree and can resonate with this, and perhaps many dudes who were told they were too sensitive or too feely or too emotional or whatever can deal with this. Guys, let's listen. First to the men, or to the masculine women, or the masculine people who are embodying a protector role. Your ability to protect is greatly limited and entirely dependent on how sensitive you can be to your surroundings and to yourself, which doesn't mean if you're not aware there's something wrong or like you should turn on yourself and hate. Well, just kind of like, it's like, how can someone be for the tribe if they're not even aware of the tribe? And they can't be aware of the tribe and the natural needs of the tribe if they're not aware of their own bodies. Or if they've decided that their emotions mean nothing, or that their body signals need to be pushed through and overridden. And then you end up creating stuff like cops and security guards and officials and leaderships and stuff, and people in places of power, or like alpha dudes at clubs and stuff who think they're being protective, but really they're just listening to their own programmed trauma and can't actually hear themselves. They're in their minds, but they can't feel their bodies. And going back to my thing about me having autism and being very disconnected from my body, I had a wake-up call. I was 27. This was 2.5 years ago. I just turned 30, like, last week, Friday, actually, March 14th. My kidneys were starting to fail. And when the kidneys start to fail, kidneys store fear. In Chinese medicine, they said kidneys store fear. They store fear. And so my body was telling me, it was trying to warn me about something. And eventually it just says, fuck it, I'm going to just shut down. I'm going to start shutting down on you. And then once I became aware of that, I began to feel it. I began to feel all the fear that my kidneys were storing in my body. And it was just like this wake-up call. And then suddenly I had this intuition that I knew I was going to die in about 1.5 years. And I had to fully accept it. And there was no way of trying to run away from it. And so I fully accepted it. I was relieved, actually, because at that time I was tired of living. However, through the full acceptance of what my body was telling me, through accepting that fear, accepting that death was on its way, I immediately encountered solutions that helped me clear out stuff in my body. Up to that point, I'd done 4 combo ceremonies, but this 5th combo ceremony, combo is a medicine. It's called combo. It's used from the secretion of a frog. It's found in various parts of the Amazon and the jungles in South America, and it's traditional shamanic medicine used to help purge the body, purge the emotions, purge the mind. It's very physical as well, mostly physical, very acute purging of toxins of stuff. I had some of the best shamans do that. This was in Mexico, and it cleared some stuff out. And I was doing some more breath work, but after that one ceremony, things began to shift. I began to have, it was like I was given a second shot at life. And suddenly that whole thing of dying was falling away. Now before then, shortly after I discovered I was going to die, I received a call from Mother Ayahuasca saying it's time for you to die, and saw a vision of me entering this dark tunnel inside of like a jungle opening, where the end of the tunnel was black. There was nothing past it. But when I walked through it, there was this sunny view on the other side of like a sunrise opening into the canopy of like an opening of the Brazilian jungle or something, and the clouds were like very light and the sun was coming up, which signified and probably meant a rebirth of some sort. So that was on the horizon too. And so when it said you were going to die, why are you still here? Well, perhaps I did die. Perhaps a part of me died. A part of me actually did die in the combo ceremony, and doing my breath work. And when I got back to Canada a few months later and started doing Reiki on myself every single day again, went back to that because I'm trained in that as well. And when the ayahuasca ceremony, my first one, showed up a few months later in February 2023, things died. A piece of me died that was causing that pattern. And so death can either mean that you disappear because the pattern of you that you're holding on to has an expiration date and is tied to your body, or it means you let go of it and it dies on its own. Bring me back to the topic of intuition and the feminine oracle within and body awareness of what's wrong inside and out, and to neurodiversity. For those of you who may be masking your autism, masking ADHD, masking things they call schizophrenia, which is really just you being a shamanic priestess or a warrior or like an oracle who can see between both worlds, and which will actually makes you more protective because you're more aware of what's going on than others, then I urge you not to suppress these things anymore. If you're a woman who's trying to listen to what her own womb space is telling her, but would rather listen to the intuition or the guidance of her friends or society or whatever some man tells them they think is the safest thing to do, even though your own body's telling you differently, I urge you to listen to your body instead, because that's going to keep not only you more safe, but the more people we have listening to our actual, like, our own, like, natural source intelligence of our own selves, we're going to create a safer space for everybody. It's going to be a safer world. You're going to feel safer because you can sense when danger's up. You can sense, okay, is this protector, this guy protecting me, is he actually aligned with intuition? He may have good intentions, but if he's not, is he actually aligned? And then you'll know where to go. I've literally, like, gotten out of, like, man, there's been a lot of things I've been through when I was traveling. Like, I was in Belize City in 2021 in April, and my life was being threatened by a gangster who, his brother was right there, and his brother had the mob boss on speed dial. No, he had the boss. He had the mafia leader controlling a whole 900 people in that entire city on speed dial, and I didn't want to hang out with them anymore. I didn't want to be in that space anymore, and he's being disrespectful. I didn't like it, and he just starts like, I'm gonna get everyone. He's gonna get the police on me. He's gonna get everyone. He's gonna get everyone at me. And my intuition told me, do not get involved. He's trying to get threatening with you. Say, I'm not gonna play this game with you. I'm not gonna play this game of threats with you. I'm not gonna join this with you. And then intuition says immediately, take your bags, all my bags, leave the city, walk down the highway overnight during COVID when lockdowns were done. And the police in Belize, when they catch you, they're not police. They're like the things you need to protect yourself from. Take all my bags, walk down the highway overnight for 15 hours straight, for 50 kilometers, halfway to the next city. And my intuition was the only thing guiding me at that point, because at that point, the logical mind would have been overloaded with so many things that this source intelligence, you can call it God, you can call it source, you can call it whatever, you can call it the intuition, you can call it your ancient wisdom, you can call it going to the avatar state, whatever it is, will just say, this way, this direction, do this, and it will feel so right to you. It'll feel so right to you. And lo and behold, I'm still here without a single scratch on me. I mean, there are other situations I've zip-lined through as well. I call it zip-lining through hell. You just follow that zip line of your intuition, showing you the way through the flames, but nothing really touches you. However, if you do get burned, what's burning is your old identity, the thing you need to die to. And so to fully step fully into this path of accepting what your body's telling you, you have to be willing to face those feelings that you buried, because that's the only way out. In fact, some things that keep happening in your life are only happening because you're not listening to the wisdom that's trying to get you out there. You're still trying to follow like what the mind's telling you, what other people are telling you. But if you're a neurodivergent, you've been taught to mask. Well, maybe you need safe spaces to do this. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't found very many safe spaces to do this. I'm just discovering it now because I've just started creating one for myself. So if you're someone who's, you're very intuitive, you're feminine, you're a guy with a feminine oracle, you're a woman with an intuition, you've been diagnosed or anything, you've been called labels, you're a woman who has you can feel things in your womb space or stuff's going on, or you're autistic, or you're ADHD, or you're neurodivergent in some kind of way and don't identify with labels that you do. Let me know. I want to hear what's up with you. I'm down for messaging and talking. I work with modalities, but I focus mainly on neurodivergent individuals who have latent potential in accessing their wisdom and gifts as those will save you. As I did notice that after I began to awaken to these parts of myself, my quote-unquote social skills improved, not because I became like everyone else, but because the very things that meant to protect me and provide me with good information on people around me, through my intuition and through the senses and six senses we have, came online and gave me kind of an upper edge in a way that I saw various quote-unquote neurotypical people didn't have as well developed. And so we may not sense things like them, we may not sense things like everybody else, but we sense things in our own way, and in a way we're meant to, because that's how we were designed. We were designed to have a different operating system, a different way of seeing and processing this world, and now we get to create spaces like that. So yeah, love you guys, and who knows, I might be a security guard and start representing us in the way of public protection and safety, because I just think there's not enough neurodiverse representation in these areas, in the field of protection. And sometimes they turn on us. They look at us, they say, oh, he's being weird or whatever, and they just start getting afraid, and they're not listening to their intuition. They're just following the programs they were told about how to be saying, or how to be an alpha male, or like their own fears, or their own fear of losing power and authority, because they look at someone that they probably can't control because they don't follow their preconceived ideas of what's considered normal, which means they're not actually protecting you, which means a lot of you don't actually feel safe around societal protectors, namely police, namely security guards in places, and sometimes actually get marginalized by them. So I like to represent a positive angle. I like to represent protection that doesn't escape and bypass those that are marginalized as well, and doesn't mistake the wrong people for the right things and the right things for the right people for the wrong people. So okay, I'm at my limit. This is a 17-minute long video, but it went very fast. I need time to process what I'm feeling and this information, and new downloads will come, and I'll start my day, because that's how I operate. So love you. See you guys.